Welcome to Mind Over Metal Podcast. Heavy metal and hard rock news, discussion and reviews. Alright everybody, what's up? Welcome to episode 8 of the Mind Over Metal Podcast, right here, mindovermetalpodcast.com, Spreaker, iTunes, Podbean, and fucking every other platform you can possibly imagine. You can check us out, you can listen to us there. Hope you're all doing good. Joined this week, as always, by my friend and co-host, DJ Metal Mike. What's up, Mike?
Hey brother, what's going on? Greetings and salutations to all my fellow metalheads, headbangers, metal maidens. This is the Mind Over Metal Podcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing fucking good. We are recording this on a Monday, so it's good to get Monday over with, and worst fucking day of the week. Get that day done and dusted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, with me in my career, though, see, I'm a nurse, right? So I work every other weekend. So believe it or not, I was off tonight. So I was kind of looking forward to Monday. But normally, I know what you mean. Monday's kind of, let's be honest, Mondays suck deep.
Massive.
Your first day back to work, no matter what day it falls on, sucks huge demon cock.
Yeah, I was off for 2 weeks a couple of weeks ago, and the thought of having to go back after having 2 weeks off, I was depressed. Didn't want to fucking do it.
Oh, I know. You dread it too. You look at the calendar. You even watch the clock just tick down. You're like,
yeah.
And you're like, God, I need to win the lottery or something, man.
Or why can't I just do this podcast and the radio show forever and not have to put on a suit and tie?
That would be fucking awesome if I never had to wear scrubs again, man. That would fucking rule.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, Mike, tell everybody what we're doing this week.
Well, we are going to review the debut album of what many people consider obviously one of the greatest heavy metal bands of all time, the forefront, the leader of the new wave of British heavy metal movement in the early 80s, Iron Maiden's debut album, man. And we've got a guest, fellow DJ from thatmetalstation.com, DJ Shant Star. He has a show called Shant Star's Audio Aggression, I believe every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. or 12 a.m. Which one is it, Shant?
It's 11 p.m., but we usually run over because we have fun.
I hear you, man. Go ahead. No,
I just want to say that I'm psyched to be on Mind Over Metal with my two good fucking buddies. And, I'll tell you, I'm extremely excited to review one of my absolute favorite albums, which, as Metal Mike said, is Iron Maiden's debut album, self-titled. It's definitely one of my best, and although Iron Maiden is pretty much considered one of the forefathers of the new wave of British heavy metal, they really weren't respected to that level until the Bruce Dickinson era, and we're reviewing the Paul Di'Anno era, the singer who I really love, and I can't tell who I like more. And I'm really psyched to talk about this album.
Awesome. I actually don't think, no, I could be wrong, but I don't think I've heard any other of the great podcasts out there do a review of this album. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't fucking heard it.
I think the Rock and Metal Podcast did it.
Oh, did they?
I think they did. I know they did one of the early because Ralph, being the huge Di'Anno fan he is, like he makes no bones about it. He loves Bruce Dickinson, but he's a Di'Anno guy. Mm-hmm. And to me though, and I understand what Shant's saying, because on a global level, it was with Dickinson that they became. But to me, those first two albums with Di'Anno were very important. He brought them. To me, Di'Anno brought him to that level, and Dick, because that's an argument to be made. Like DJ Kane feels, he thinks Iron Maiden would have been just as successful with Di'Anno. He really does believe that. He thinks that it was more of a fact that the reason why Di'Anno, got kicked out or left or whatever. One I heard was musical differences.
Yeah.
But also I guess Di'Anno had a major problem with coke at the time. Of course, a lot of this is conjecture. I don't know for sure, but I think that was a big part of it anyway, man. But I think Iron Maiden, and I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way, is one of the biggest metal bands of all time. They were, along with Merciful Fate, in my opinion, and Venom, a huge influence on the thrash metal movement that would come a few years later.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
One thing that you said there, Mike, about the Di'Anno, and I watched a couple documentaries, and I never heard about the cocaine situation until I looked up a couple things on the net. And here's the bottom line, basically. I heard Bruce Dickinson talking, and he, in other words, he insinuated that they needed to go in a more commercial direction. Now, anyone who's musically savvy understands that Bruce Dickinson is more pleasurable to the ear of the average listener.
Yep.
We're avid listeners. We really home in on stuff. So to the average person, Bruce Dickinson is more operatic, and that's more palatable to the ear. Mm-hmm. And just to go back on the issue of where they were going musically, if you listen to all 4 of the original Kiss members who have done endless interviews and they put out books, none of their stories match up. So somewhere in the middle is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I don't want to defame the great Paul Di'Anno, but it is well known in the music industry that drugs and alcohol play a huge problem. And this is why I have been through band after band, and I'm the only one who's the center member of what used to be Distortion for many years, 20 years plus, and now I changed it over to Skull and Blades, and I had a drummer drop out because he had drug issues, and that's life, and it's really a problematic issue in the music world. But I really think that if it was maybe a combination of drugs, but I definitely think that when people start talking and there's big money involved, they want to move to the next level. And Paul Di'Anno, who make no mistake, is a beautiful singer when you listen to Remember Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to Strange World, he is absolutely beautiful. But then he's very gritty when he does a song like Prowler or Killers, etc. And for that reason is really why I think I slightly prefer Paul Di'Anno over Bruce Dickinson. And I will say this, I don't want to monopolize, but I just want to say this. If you had to replace the great Paul Di'Anno with anyone, Bruce Dickinson is absolutely the perfect man for the job. With that, I will turn the mic back over.
Yep.
Fucking well said,
Good point,
God
Sean.
damn. Hell yeah, dude. Well, it says right here, by 1981, Paul Di'Anno was demonstrating increasingly self-destructive behavior, particularly through his drug usage, about which Di'Anno comments, "It wasn't just that I was snorting a bit of coke, though. I was just going for it nonstop, 24 hours every day. The band had commitments piling up that went on for months and years, and I just couldn't see my way to the end of it. I knew I'd never last the whole tour. It was just too much." Mm-hmm. With his performances suffering, Di'Anno was immediately dismissed following the Killers World Tour, at which point the band had already selected his replacement. So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that had something to do with it, but I do agree with you, though, 100%, Shant. What I don't understand is those fans that feel like, and I've met them, where they're only Dickinson guys, or they're only Di'Anno guys, and then I'm just kind of like, well, man, that's a little, I mean, hey, to each their own, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I don't get that. I don't know why you got to disparage one guy to elevate the other one. They're both fucking great. You know what I mean?
Good point.
It's
good point there, Mike.
It's just stupid and pointless to me to do that, because like I said, they're both great. I probably like both of them equally.
Yeah. To me, they're two different bands. The Di'Anno era has a very punky vibe to a lot of the material, where you didn't have that in the Dickinson era.
Well, Paul was more street level, I think.
Yeah,
you know?
he was. Yeah.
But let me just interject one thing here. Now, I'm into punk music, and I'm into hardcore punk music.
Mm-hmm.
And what really makes a punk singer is attitude.
Yeah.
And Paul Di'Anno brought attitude to his singing. And if you look at the Sex Pistols, which is the iconic punk rock group, if you listen to their music instrumentally, they are a rock and roll group. Once you enter Johnny Rotten into the mix, that's what turns it into punk music. Johnny Rotten is so aggressive and is full of attitude in his vocals. Now, when I hear this, and like, everybody's got their own opinion. I get that. And if we didn't all have our own opinion, life would be boring as fuck. But I just don't see the idea that everyone makes a comparison of that. Well, Paul Di'Anno's like a punk singer. Well, if you think about punk at the time, you have to look at the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, the Clash, which I don't even consider punk, but they say they're punk. I don't get that. So I don't understand. It's like, how do people think that Paul Di'Anno is punk when those three bands that I just named, when Paul Di'Anno can obviously sing his ass off? And I like punk, but punk is not known for its technicality. Yeah. And Paul Di'Anno is a great he's a great singer, but also he could bring the grit. I think it was maybe that he got a little bit of that stereotype, and it just seemed to snowball because of the way he dressed. He dressed with black, the black leather jacket, the spikes, before that started to become fashionable. Because if you understand this, and just doing a little bit of homework up to this album, because it's, I known this album obviously for many, many, many years, but I said, let me refresh myself, let me look at a few things. This album was recorded in the month of January in 1980. So in all reality, you can say that those songs were made in 1979. I just think that's incredibly mind-blowing. I mean, the Iron Maiden was the precursor to thrash, there is no doubt, especially when you look at the Killers album. And like as you said, Mac, if you look at this first album, you have Dennis Stratton, Paul Di'Anno, and Clive Burr, who were on the first album. Then on the second album, Dennis Stratton, who was a great guitarist, was no longer with them. He was replaced by Adrian Smith. And then, obviously, after the second album, Paul Di'Anno left. And then if you look at the third album, which was the last album that the great drummer Clive Burr played on. So by the time that Dickinson got by the time that Dickinson really got a foothold into Maiden, they in fact kind of were a different band. But I'll say this, damn, they were great. I mean, man, in a certain way, the cosmic, fucking stars or whatever lined up. Everything that changed with Maiden, right down to their singers and their drummers and one of their great guitar players, it still worked. Nobody can tell me that about any other band.
Yeah, great point.
I mean, when I look at Exodus, I love Paul Bailoff, and then came in Zetro, don't like him. And then many years after that, Rob Dukes came, then I really liked him. And then Zetro went back. So what point I'm getting at is, it is really amazing to me that Maiden had 3 major lineup changes and it still worked. That blows my mind.
Absolutely. Great point.
That is a good point, Shant. Like, I like all eras of Exodus. I love Paul Bailoff, but I like Zetro too. And I can understand why some people don't really dig his voice, because it is kind of different. And I love to me, when Rob Dukes joined the band, I felt he definitely gave Exodus a fucking shot in the arm, so much so that as much as I love Zetro, I was kind of sorry to see Dukes go. Because, Zetro was doing his band with his son, Hatriot, which was fucking kick-ass too. So, to me, it was kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, I was kind of bummed out. Because, like I said, I'm a big Rob Dukes fan. But anyway, that's a whole other band, a whole other subject, so... But it is, a valid comparison, though, because a lot of times when a band, there's only been a few bands that could change lead singers and still find success, maybe even more success. AC/DC, obviously, was one of them. Even though I'm more of a Bon Scott era AC/DC man myself. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Brian Johnson, especially those early records, but to me, man, there is no bad Bon Scott era AC/DC.
Well, I'm an Axl Rose era AC/DC fan.
Oh, okay. Alrighty then.
No, I'm not.
I was going to say, you really are an Axl Rose nut.
No, I'm a Bon guy. I'm a Bon guy.
Hey, I would love to see, AC/DC put out an album of the caliber of Back in Black with Axl Rose on it, and I would love to hear what that would sound like.
Absolutely, yeah, that would be killer.
Oh yeah, I would be curious to see if they do anything, record anything.
And that's what I'm interested in. But I'm sorry, Mike. But the one thing is this: Axl blows out his voice live quick. But if you home in and you listen to this guy's studio records, he is a shantastic, and I don't use that word loosely, shantastic singer.
Yeah.
He triples up his vocals. He does a low voice, a mid voice, and a high voice. So beautiful, most people don't even hear it. I listen to it and I'm like, wow, this guy really has a knowledge of the way music should be. And just a little side note, when GNR came out, I was so thrash that I used to beat up Guns N' Roses fans. Now as I open my mind a little bit, right, I absolutely love the Appetite for Destruction record, and to obviously a lesser degree, the Use Your Illusions. But one thing is, this is why I would love to see Axl Rose do a studio record with AC/DC, because in the studio, Axl is great.
I agree. 100%, Jan. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it will happen too. Angus isn't the kind of guy that's, just going to sit around and do nothing and tour sporadically. He does like to put material out. And yeah, it can take a couple of years between records, but I think it'll happen, definitely.
Well, I'm looking forward to that if it does, Yeah. And you know what else too? Is sometimes when bands are under the gun and they think they have to put out a one record every year and tour, their music just can't be of the quality because they get stretched too thin. Yeah. And this is typically why a lot of bands' first album is their best. They have a lot of years to tweak things and work on things and edit lyrics and finally come together with a great project. Like, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously because most people don't know that Maiden actually had quite a few incarnations, I believe, in 1975. And they didn't put out their first record till, very important, the first month of 1980. So they actually recorded it in 79. And, I would like to see bands putting out a great record every 2 years as opposed to a mediocre record every 1 year.
Yeah, put more thought into it, put more work into it. I mean, you have your whole life to write your first record, and it's very hard within that 1-2 year window to come up with a decent follow-up. So yeah, the more thought put into it, the better the product. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, yeah, and I agree, man. And about what Shant was saying, they actually formed on Christmas Day in 1975.
Yeah.
That was, and of course they said they got the name from the film adaptation of The Man in the Iron Mask, which, of course, is the novel by Alexander Dumas. And, he said it reminded him of the Iron Maiden torture device, so there you go. But, yeah, when you think about it, so within 5 short years, they had already recorded their first album. And, and Iron Maiden at that point in time was creating quite a buzz because there was that one fella by the name of Neil Kay.
Yeah.
He had basically this club, I think it was the Sound House or something like that. And he was really into heavy metal. And
He was
basically,
the DJ,
yeah, it was
wasn't he?
called the Bandwagon Heavy Metal Sound House, and it was located in Kingsbury Circle, northwest London. And Iron Maiden gave him a tape, and they started playing the demo regularly at the Bandwagon. And one of the songs, of course, we all know, Prowler, eventually went to number 1 in the Soundhouse charts, which was published weekly in Sounds magazine. And so there you go. They were already getting a loyal following. I remember hearing a story about how they were playing at a club somewhere, and towards the back, who was checking them out, but none other than Ozzy Osbourne. And that was around the time he was recording Blizzard of Oz. So I was like, man, that's so fucking cool, So yeah, even then, Maiden were getting noticed, I mean, pretty much right off, I wouldn't say right off the bat, but you got to figure that was probably the first album came out in 80, so probably late 70s, like Shant pointed out, a lot of them songs was probably written in 78, 79.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
Yeah.
Just one thing is, I've made about 20 songs in my life, and unfortunately, many of them weren't recorded in a studio. They were recorded in a rehearsal studio, which is a big difference. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, I have about 20 songs now completely finished on the guitar. And some of those riffs I actually pulled from 8, 9, 10 years ago that I had. And, it's an amazing thing as if you look at something from the perspective of a musician. And, like, for instance, there's some lyrics that I have that are 20 years old. And if I start writing some new ones, I'll go, you know what? I got something along those lines, because I have trays with them all with the tabs on it that basically have, the subject matter. It might say war, it might say politics, it might say murder. And I'll pull something that was 20 years old, and I'll stick it in something that's new. And I'm sure that a lot of that happened along with Iron Maiden. Just like, I'll give you a good for instance, the bridge or the breakdown to Creepin' Death by Metallica was something that Kirk Hammett had pulled from an old song that when he was playing with Exodus. So people do that. People have riffs on burners for years, and they could never think of the next fluidic step. See, I have that a lot. I will go on with a riff for an hour, and I will keep trying to transition fluidly and just can't come up with nothing. And then I'll leave it alone for a year, and then just something will happen, something will strike and, set off some buzzers, and I'll pick up the guitar and it'll go right into it smooth, and I'll be like, oh, that's so fucking great. And, when I do finally have songs that I consider are born at the time when they're recorded, I look at them like my children, and they're so much bigger to me because I remember when each piece was done, where I was when I was writing the lyrics and where I was when I wrote certain guitar parts. So I'm sure that happened when Iron Maiden, because they were together for 5 years before the first album came out. And I would love to be able to go back and just see recordings and know exactly what, like, be a fly on the wall, like say through Steve Harris's life, who was the primary figure in Iron Maiden, and just see who did what. I mean, because to me, when I look at somebody like, when I look at Dennis Stratton, to me it's almost unfathomable. Like, how could they get rid of Dennis Stratton? He's such a great guitar player. Him and Dave Murray worked so great together. They did get rid of him, and like I said before, amazingly enough, Adrian Smith came into the picture, and they picked up like they never dropped a beat. But, I mean, it's just so interesting. And I just love thinking about this first album. I love talking about this first album. I love people who love this first album, because most people always want to go to the Bruce Dickinson era. And I'm in love with the first two Iron Maiden albums. I mean, I just can't say enough good things about them. I really, really just can't say enough good things about them. I can't even think of what's my favorite song off the album, which is a good question. Do you guys have a favorite song off this album?
No. Can't pick.
Oh man, it's really hard. I kind of do have one. I just absolutely love it. But the whole album was great. Again, this is going to turn into one of them fucking love fests, but fuck it, man. I don't care though. It's like, I mean, I just listened to the recent episode of the Rock and Metal Combat podcast where they had a love fest for Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, it's like, I don't always have to have a podcast where people disagree and argue or debate over whether, that's cool, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's all right to have a fucking love fest, man, and to basically acknowledge a great album, and one thing I love about having Shant on is he's a musician. Mm-hmm. See, I'm not. Okay, I wish I was, but I have no musical fucking talent whatsoever. So, for me, it's like, it's really cool to hear a musician talk about a band. And it's interesting that you mentioned Dennis Stratton, because, amazing guitar player, and it says right here that he basically, they said right here, he left Iron Maiden in October of 1980, and said accounts of the reason for Stratton's departure vary. Stratton has mentioned that he left due to conflicts with manager Rod Smallwood and Steve Harris. Both Smallwood and Harris said they rated him as a singer and a guitarist. Officially, the band stated musical differences being the reason for his leaving. And of course, we all know Stratton was replaced by Adrian Smith, and after that, he played with bands such as Lionheart, and then after the new wave of British heavy metal tour with them in 1990, he joined Praying Mantis, and he went on to record 9 studio albums and 2 live ones.
Oh, nice. Didn't know that.
And then they said he officially left Praying Mantis in 2006, although his final recording material with them was in 2003. In 1995, Stratton had a project with former Iron Maiden singer Paul Di'Anno called The Original Iron Men, in which both of them sang. They released 3 albums. Cool. Oh, I wouldn't mind checking that out.
Yeah, I might check that out.
I'm going to check that out. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, man.
I had also heard... Sorry, Shant, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say a quick thing was, and I might be opening up this can of worms because me and Metal Mike talked about this a few times, but I'm just going to say this and we could maybe get into that in a little bit, is that I just don't understand why, and it really kind of irks me and breaks my heart that everything I've heard from Paul Di'Anno after Maiden and Dennis Stratton, I didn't like. And I don't understand why. I just don't get it. And that means, as a whole, there's something super special about Iron Maiden. And we can get back into that later, because I was just going to bring up, as me and Mike spoke, what if, the great what if that if the great Paul Di'Anno entered an already established badass band, who I think needs a different singer, which was Megadeth. I think, like, could you imagine if Paul Di'Anno sung on a Megadeth album? I mean, there's another guy that I think that some people just really don't dig his vocals. You know,
I wouldn't agree with that, because I'm a big Dave Mustaine and Megadeth fan, but Anthrax, I'm not a big Anthrax fan. I think musically they're great, but I could just never get into Joey Belladonna. I like John Bush.
You're killing me.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
crazy, Mac.
Oh
yeah.
my
You're killing
God.
me, Mac.
Joey Belladonna.
Controversy.
Yes, but you know what? This is cool, bro. Because if we all thought, or if we all walked and talked and thought the same, life would suck.
Yeah.
You know. So dude. And you know what? And like I said before, some people I don't really dig. I actually think that Mega Dave did his best vocals on the latest album, Dystopia. I don't know. What do you think about that, Mac?
Oh yeah, look, great fucking album. He does a great job. But you know what I was actually listening to today? And I hadn't listened to it more or less since shortly after it came out, was Super Collider. And that came out when 2013, I think. When it came out.
It was the album before Dystopia, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. So 2013. And I think it is a good record musically. I think Dave Mustaine does a great vocal performance on it, but his fucking lyrics are dumb. on 70% of the songs. I'm not a fan of them, but I can't think of a Megadeth album where his voice has let me down. But I'm a big Megadeth fan, you know. But Anthrax, ugh.
But you know what would be interesting? Maybe not so much if Paul had joined Megadeth, but I would love to see a kick-ass like supergroup and have Di'Anno as the vocalist. Like, get Mustaine to be one of your guitar players. That would be fucking amazing, man. That would be awesome. Like, you know, Dave Lombardo, Dave Mustaine, Paul Di'Anno, and I don't know. You pick the bass player, Shant, and there you go, man.
Well, you know what? I was just trying to think of musicians that are no longer functioning in that once were in a great band. And you know, this is what I don't get. And you know what? It just goes to show. Like, look, I'm going to say something that might be like crazy to a lot of people. Is that I was just telling my friend this the other day. I go, you know, you would think that a guy like Eddie Van Halen, who is undeniably fantastically great on the guitar, would have just made better riffs and better songs. And now what I mean by that is this. If you listen to Eddie Van Halen, what he can do on the guitar blows away technically what Iommi did on the guitar. But Tony Iommi is the riff master. And this might be what the problem was with Dennis Stratton. And of course, all this is just hypothesizing, because I don't understand why that Dennis Stratton never put out anything that royally kicked ass like Prowler, like Transylvania, like Iron Maiden, like Phantom of the Opera. Makes me say maybe he didn't write anything. Maybe he was just directed. You know, I mean, shit happens, you know, and just going back to what I was saying about Eddie Van Halen, I'm not demeaning the man in any way. I know that there's so many people who absolutely love him. I just go, he's an incredibly gifted guitarist, but it just goes to prove, even though you can royally kick ass, doesn't mean that you can make great songs like so many songs, so many memorable riffs that came out from Sabbath. I mean, one riff after another from Sabbath is just so memorable, it's unbelievable, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good
so,
point.
You know,
well, and you got a point there, because like you said, you're not putting down Eddie Van Halen. I mean, hey, I love those old Van Halen albums, but like you point out, Iommi's the riff master. I mean, there's no arguing that. That's like fucking science, you know what I mean? Like, seriously, it's like, it's there. As far as what I can see, dude, I'm looking at the songwriting credits. Stratton has none on either album. So, there you go.
And that might have been the problem. That look, I play drums with another band, but it's an all cover band. And the guy that I play with, he's never going to hear this podcast. So I call him Tommy Xerox. Why? Because he's like a fucking copy machine. He can cover everybody, but when I'm like, Tom, let's just do something. Don't you got something for me? Throw something at me. I want to just do something original. And he's like, nah, I'm working on stuff. I was like, bro, I love you, man, but you've been saying that to me for 12 years. We have been playing in my studio for 12 years. And he's like, let's just do this. And then I see him start to get irritated, so I'm like, okay, let's move on and do it. Now, me, on the other hand, is I will play bits and pieces. Like, two songs that I've been messing around with lately are Shorter Straw and Whiplash, which, if you guys tune into my show this Tuesday, Shant Star's Audio Aggression, I'm going to play and sing a version of Metallica's Whiplash on my show.
Nice.
So if you guys tune in, you'll hear me.
Yep.
But you know, dude, some people just need direction, and unfortunately, some people need a producer, but that winds up changing them totally. And then some people just do it. Some people just do it. And I'm just actually a guy who's more along the lines of, I don't want to duplicate, I want to create. And maybe Dennis Stratton was just needed the direction of the duplication, and that's why he never came out with something that was incredibly badass. I mean, there's so many guitar players that are so badass. Like, I saw Joel Hoekstra in the play Rock of Ages. In fact, it was so great, me and my girlfriend went to see it twice. And I met him afterwards. I got some pictures with him. And, you know, the guy played with Whitesnake. He also played with Night Ranger. And I'm like, why isn't he capable of doing anything incredibly badass on his own? And let me tell you something. When I saw Rock of Ages, they didn't have no record playing. It was all live. It was live. And Rock of Ages was, they would basically, it was a musical, and they would go into like maybe half of each song. So this guy just ran the whole gamut of all the 80s songs, you know, Final Countdown, I Wanna Rock. I mean, everything in there you could think of. I mean, the guy he's such a supremely gifted guitarist, but I've never heard him do anything original that I said, that's Joel Hoekstra. He's badass. So,
good.
But anyway, I don't know if I'm pulling you guys off of the subject at hand, which is the first Iron Maiden album. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going on.
It's all good, Shant. It's all good. We're used to plenty of tangents here with DJ Metal Mike. He normally goes on about 5. Is that fair to say, Mike? 5 per episode?
What? DJ Mac, whatever do you mean?
But we love it, and it's like our gimmick now. We talk about one thing, and then
I'll go off, and then he'll just go, "Oh, we love your tangents, Michael," and I'm like, "Ah, fuck, thanks, buddy."
But anyway, I think that was a nice little intro to this week's episode. So, few stats: recorded January 1980, released the 14th of April 1980. Features the lineup of Paul Di'Anno vocals. Steve Harris bass, Dennis Stratton guitar, Dave Murray guitar, Clive Burr drums, and it was produced by Will Malone, and it debuted at number 4 in the UK albums chart, so did fairly well at home. So Shant, you are our guest, so how about you lead us in with the opening track, Prowler?
Oh, well, Prowler is just a masterpiece. I mean, it starts off with a single high-pitched guitar, wow, 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 which once again leads me into the whole idea of how well that Dave Murray and Dennis Stratton seem to play together, and I mean, I actually used that for a bump up for my show, and which that Mike's brother was good enough to make for me, because I love the song so much. I don't even know where to go to say there's just not one single thing that I dislike about the song Prowler. I mean, it's just perfection, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially if I don't know how many people ever listened to Iron Maiden's first original recording of that, which is from the Slaughterhouse tapes. I mean, and they really, when they recorded it the second time, they took it to a whole new level. And I don't understand how any metalhead could listen to Prowler and not like it. Mm-hmm. I just think it's just perfect in every single way. And by the way, Clive Burr, who I prefer over Nico, he does a superb job on that song. He's just fantastic. I mean, I really don't... I just don't know if I can actually give and evaluate a song without sounding like this guy he's lost all objective focus because he just loves it so much. I just love it so much because it's so good.
Yeah. Killer. Mike, what about you?
Well, one thing I wanted to say, I think you meant Soundhouse tapes, not Slaughterhouse tapes, DJ Shant. When you're talking about the original version of Prowler,
right?
Soundhouse tapes, right? You said Slaughterhouse, which actually sounds pretty fucking cool to me. They should have called it Slaughterhouse, but I know why they called it the Soundhouse tapes. Well, it's because of the club, you know, right? So anyway, yeah. Oh my God, what an amazing opening track! I mean, seriously, man. A fucking kapow right to the fucking balls. Right off the bat. Starts off with just killer guitar riffing. Rhythm section of Harrison first, just fucking badass. Rest in peace, Clive. You were amazing. And I love how the song kind of takes an abrupt change. It goes into like machine gun riffing, and with the drum beats, and then just the sweet ass guitar soloing by Stratton and Murray. Fucking amazing. Great fucking opening track. I give it 10 out of 10 fucking devil horns, man. Great fucking song.
Agreed.
Yep. Well, man, what a fucking opener. It's a kick in the dick. It's got this punk attitude, but it's got the technicality of metal. And Di'Anno's voice, it's rough, edgy. The guitars go from like simple power chords to this fucking really fast harmonization. You know, and like the band will go on in later albums to be known for. It's like their classical theme or whatever. But it's like there's also this combination of like blues and like neoclassical guitar in it. It's just fucking perfect. Fucking love Prowler. Probably one of my favourite album openers by any metal band. Fucking love it. 10 out of 10 for me too. Killer. Next song, Sanctuary. Who wants to take that?
Okay, now I was just going to ask, are we doing the American or
there's two versions.
Because Sanctuary was actually released as a single, and it's a great song, but quite honestly, I don't think it really fit in with the album. Like, I prefer, you know, the original version, the actual English version of the album, myself.
Mike, let me just interject here, is that Sanctuary was not on the original album, and it was added in later, and then it started to get added in different countries at a later time until 1998. Then it was finally added in every single country.
Right. And even the song list order is different, Shant, because like in the original version, the British version, it's Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, Running Free, Phantom of the Opera, Transylvania, Strange World, Charlotte the Harlot, and Iron Maiden. The North American release in 1980 has Sanctuary as the third track on side 2. So they added it in then, and then the 98 version has Sanctuary as the second song. I mean, we can go ahead and talk about it. It's a cool tune. I like it. Always have. Don't literally fit the record though, so that's just me though.
Yeah.
Let me just interject for unless you guys want to do something else, but for the discussion's sake, I'd actually like to do what I consider as the traditional lineup, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because when you come from an aggressive track like Prowler, it is so sweet that they put such a magnificently beautiful song, Remember Tomorrow, next. It is absolutely the hard next to the soft, the yin next to the yang, just simply beautiful. That was the perfect lineup to me right there. And you know, until you just said that, I've always just assumed that this was the lineup of the songs, with the exception of Sanctuary, which was added in at a later date.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. I knew about Sanctuary, but I wasn't aware that some of the other songs were in a different order. So, well, I have the remasters, the 98 remasters.
Yeah.
So, Mike, maybe you or Shant will be better, you know, on the show here, keeping us whatever track list you have. That's what we'll go by, because mine's fucked.
Well, I'm going by the 1980 British release. You know how I am, man. I've always felt like North America pisses me off sometimes when they'll pick up a band from overseas and then they'll change the track listings. Like, leave it the fuck alone. 9 times out of 10, it's better that way.
Yeah.
You know, that just pisses me the fuck off when they do that shit, man.
I'll see if I can pull it up here.
So one little interjection. I do not. The only thing that I like about these remixes or these modernizations of these records is that they actually boost the volume, but then all of a sudden they start messing with it and it sounds tinny, or I just sort of like, whoa, what are you doing? That doesn't sound right to me. Leave it alone. And I'll tell you, I think the sound, the mixing, and everything with this album is absolutely perfect. And if they were going to re-release it, the only thing I would want them to do is pump up the volume on it and just absolutely leave every knob everywhere except for the volume. And now,
okay, that's interesting you say that, Shant, because I hear so many people bagging on the production of this record.
Yeah,
quite honestly, I don't hear it.
No,
I don't get it. I mean, I'm like,
brother,
I'm not an expert when it comes to production. I'm not, I'm not at all. But I don't think this is a badly produced record. It sounds fine to me.
Badly produced records are stuff like "Show No Mercy" from Slayer, Exodus's first album. I don't think that's bad. I mean, when you talk about records that just aren't up to par, because me and Metal Mike have spoke about this, I just love to hear. God bless Kerry King. Jeff Hanneman. He's not here no more, so I would not want to see Slayer go back and redo those records. But there's no doubt that the first three records, they could have been recorded better. Now, this record here, this Iron Maiden record, I think is perfection just the way it is. And, and I guess it's the eye of the beholder, and that's a segue to this. Injustice for All is fine just the way it is. Listen, you got a problem with the bass? Relax. It's a beautiful masterpiece just the way it is. I've actually listened to the remix version with the bass. I like the original one the way it is, and there's something about them being unique and a gem in its own way. Now, one thing is just this. Bonded by Blood, which, Metal Mike, I happen to know, is a big Exodus fan. Mike, just refresh me. Let There Be Blood was the first album. Is that correct? No, Bonded by Blood.
Yeah, Bonded by Blood is the first actual Exodus album. And great album. Metal masterpiece. But you're right. A lot of them early thrash records, unfortunately, I guess because of money, or maybe they just had producers that didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Whatever the reason, had a lot of reverb. A lot, I've heard Kerry King of Slayer talk about, like, he goes, man, before we did Rain and Blood, we didn't even know you could do a record without reverb. That's how naive they were,
right?
And you can hear it big time in those first two Slayer albums, and you can hear it on Bonded by Blood as well. I mean, I still love those records, though, because the music is so fucking awesome. But yeah, and that's what I'm saying, like, when people bag, like, even Bruce Dickinson sounds like a sack of shit, I'm like, well, fuck, man, give me more of it, because I love this fucking record,
Right.
Like, and I don't think the production's that bad. Am I saying it's the greatest produced album? No, of course not, but fuck, I've heard worse, man, as far as on a production value, which, like I said, I'm not an expert when it comes to production. Mike, a lot of times people will bitch about production on a record, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to say I didn't notice it, but it didn't bother me.
Mike, can I just ask you there, the track listing for the original release, was it Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, Running Free, Phantom of the Opera, Transylvania, Strange World, Charlotte the Harlot, and Iron Maiden?
Yes, it was.
Okay, well, that's the one we'll go by. So,
cool.
We'll give Sanctuary a skip. So, who wants to take Remember Tomorrow?
Well, let me just end out this last subject we were just talking to. Mm-hmm. But if you look at Bonded by Blood, many years later they did a remake of it, and they made it Let There Be Blood. And I love Bonded by Blood, but the remake or the re-recording with Rob Dukes on vocals, but I still really dig Bailoff. There's no comparison to the sound. And like Metal Mike said, yes, those riffs on Bonded by Blood were great. That's why they went back in and re-recorded it. Now, when someone, to me, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm around Yes Men, I don't know. I've never heard anybody say that this was a badly produced or recorded album. I think it's a absolutely fantastic album in every way. I have no complaints about it. And so with that, I guess I zipped up the end of that. The end of that. And if I can speak on Remember Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it, brother. Okay. You are our guest.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think that this track listing was the best because when you come out of a heavy tune, an aggressive tune, like Prowler, and then you jump into track 2, it is calming, and it's just it's beautiful. It's a beautiful metal ballad, and not in the sense of a ballady song like Ozzy, No More Tears, or one of his. But I think that the one thing that I find about Remember Tomorrow that is so memorable is it really proves to everybody Paul Di'Anno is a great singer.
Yeah.
He proves it on that song, and I think he is the standout without a doubt on that song. And I'm telling you that the music is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. But I think that Paul Di'Anno stands out the most on that song because on one same song, he shows that he is actually a great singer. And I'll tell you, and I want someone to give me an example of any punk rocker that could sing like that. Okay? There's no punk rock song I've ever heard where they sing like that, where any punk rock could sing like that. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the perfect transition to go from Prowler into Remember Tomorrow, because this way they just don't keep beating you with heavy.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I put something like Remember Tomorrow, I put it in the vein of my great metal ballads that I love, like Fade to Black, like Twisted Sisters, The Price, and right there I got Remember Tomorrow as just one of my all-time favorite ballads. It's just a song I put on and I actually feel something. It's like the first time I ever heard the opening riff to Fade to Black. It just actually made my body feel something. I felt a tingle, and I was like, whoa, this is incredible. And to this very day, I probably listen to Remember Tomorrow, I don't know, hundreds of times, and it just never gets old to me. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I was listening to it for the last couple weeks because I knew that we were going to be doing this, and you got to refresh yourself because God, there's so much music out today, and we have access to so much music. I mean, I remember when I was creaming in my pants if I got one good song recorded on a cassette off the radio. Now, dude, it's music overload. I'm trying to get through things. I'm trying to listen to stuff that I still love, and But anyway, I went back to this album and listened to it over and over in its entirety. And I'm like, whoa, man, it's so good. And I will go back to and leave this, just my final words on this song. If anybody thinks that Paul Di'Anno is not a good singer or not as good as Dickinson, then they need to listen to Remember Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Great. Mike?
Man, dude. All right. A beautiful, haunting, melodic track. I just think you just basically said it. Di'Anno fucking shines on this. Also, an interesting note, he co-wrote this song with Harris. It's one of the few co-writes of the album. And because almost everything was written by Steve. And I just love how the song goes in and out from being really mellow to that heavy fucking riff. And I also love how Di'Anno goes higher on the end of each verse. Like when he sings, he just hits a higher note, and then I love how the track goes all heavy and fast paced. Killer guitars by Stratton and Murray, of course, and Harrison Burr are just fucking solid as fuck. And then it goes right back into being mellow without missing a goddamn beat. Honestly, man, this is my favorite track of the album. Remember Tomorrow rules. Fucking flat out rules. And just like Shant said, anybody says, "What the other kids?" Fuck off, man. Listen to Remember Tomorrow and then give me a fucking call back, bitch. Call me in the morning, motherfucker. Seriously, like, you know, blow it out your ass. Seriously, like, it's just, what a fucking masterpiece of a song. That's it.
Absolutely. I can't really add too much more. Look, I agree with both you guys. It's a fucking amazing song. I love the kind of, you know, the dark path that it leads you down, and the melodies are really fucking cool in it. It's just an amazing fucking track. I also like the Steve Harris's bass in it. How it's nearly as prominent as the guitars. I think that's really cool. It's just a great fucking song. Remember Tomorrow, absolutely love it. Another 10 out of 10 track for me on this album. Great.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Shant.
I wasn't rating you it. I will give Prowler and Remember Tomorrow 10 out of 10 devil horns.
Nice.
Fucking A, man. Because for real.
That's two for two.
Yeah, 2 for 2, brothers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, who wants to take Running Free?
Let's see here. Running Free. Of course, you know, it's got the killer fucking drum opening that kicks this shit right off the bat. Killer galloping bass line that we all know becomes a Maiden staple for years to come. You know, I love Di'Anno's lyrics, you know, basically about being young and running wild and getting crazy. What young dudes... what young dudes can't fucking relate to that? You know what I mean? Even as a kid, I remember going, fuck yeah, like that was the tune we would, you know, I'd go out with my buddies and we'd be fucking cranking it, you know, smoking our dope, fucking drinking our beer, just going nuts, man, you know, and that song particularly brings back a lot of memories for me, man. So
interestingly, that was their first single, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
It was, and it's just catchy as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I could see why it, you know, and some of my earliest Maiden footage that I saw with Di'Anno was that performance at the club, the black and white footage. Have you guys ever seen that, where he's singing it? And he does such a great job, man. You know, and killer stuff. And it's funny too, because back then they had like what was known as the original Eddie. Like, Eddie didn't become the iconic mascot that he is. He didn't start out that way. It was just like this white ghost head that had blood that poured out of it. It wasn't until, you know, what's his face, the artist Martin Riggs, I think, or
Derek Riggs.
Derek Riggs. Yeah, man. I mean, Eddie is. You know, I'm surprised we haven't even brought that up, because even though it has no reflection upon the music, I mean, really, the cover art by Riggs, I mean, come on, what young guy, when you see something like that, isn't going to fucking snag that motherfucker off the fucking record shelf back in 1980? You know what I mean? Like, album artwork, in my opinion, was very important, especially back then, but even still, to a certain extent, it's still important. But
that was
back then, you know, yeah, go ahead, Shant.
That made albums all that more better, that they actually had, if you had a double album, you could open it up and see all the great artwork, and you know, even when you open up the sleeves, I mean, now, I remember getting reduced to cassettes. Now, listen, I'm not disrespecting cassettes. I mean, it was what I built my music collection on in the early years, when I really didn't have the money. You know, the only thing I had money for back then was a nickel bag a day. Okay,
right.
As long as I got my weed out, and my weed and my woman, I was chilling. But so I'm never going to disrespect cassettes, because I mean, I would sit there and listen to 89.5 and just boom. I would start recording every song that would come on next, and I'd listen to it, and I'd give it about 1 minute, and I don't like that, and I'd just rewind the cassette, and then stop it where the previous song ended, and then just build up my cassettes. But you're right, that Mike, that the artwork doesn't have any reflection on the song, on the music. You're 100% right, but in the opposite direction, it can propel the song And Derek Riggs, who's done so much artwork, not just for the album, but for songs. And God, he has got to be, without a doubt, one of the greatest artists in the world. When you show me these abstract artists, it makes me angry. It really does. It's like, are you kidding me? And if you want to really go into the deep depths of nonsense, you have people pissing in a jar, and then they put a crucifix in it, and then they call that art. Now, I don't want to get into that because that gets me all political. We don't want to go down that road. But if you look at the portfolio of work that Derek Riggs has done for Maiden, it's incredible. And the guy is he's incredibly great. You're right. A lot of times back in the day, we're talking about 1980 to 1990 roughly, when it was really, you had to look at your money and you had to look and take a chance on every single record you bought, because we didn't have YouTube and stuff like that. So if you were looking and you go, well, I don't know, what am I going to spend my $8 on? And then if you looked at something like, which is one of my favorite album covers, the Killers album cover, you might go, that's my cover. I'm going, that whatever's on that, it's got to rock, because that fucking cover is so damn good. Mm-hmm. So, and you know what, dude? And I'm not taking away, because I don't want to, there's two things that I thought that I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't think that artwork makes the band or the music. I have people have debated me that Iron Maiden wouldn't be as good or as popular as they were if they didn't have Eddie, and I just say that's complete nonsense. But if you would look at someone like Kiss originally brought in a lot of people, but by the way they looked. But if their music sucked, they would have went the way of the dinosaur too. So they might pull you in. They might pull you in with that. And you got to remember, like I said before, I can't underscore this enough. Look, dude, when I came up with a few bucks, I really had to wonder, was this going to be a total shit sandwich or a home run? And buying a cassette back in the day was, for a young guy like me, and like many of us, we're blue collar, we're working guys, or even the earlier days when you had to ask your parents for some money, it was a crapshoot. And I don't kind of know where I'm going, but I just want to say that, can I talk about the actual song we were talking about, which is Running Free?
Go for it, man, Running Free.
I just want to say this. I think that song is pretty good, but I don't think it's of the caliber of the other songs. Mm-hmm. And I think that the mainstream audience needs stuff that is a little more mellow, a little more straightforward. And so you put out a single like Running Free to capture as many people as you can to bring them in. Also, another interesting thing is this. When I first heard Maiden, I heard the Peace of Mind album, which is a very beautiful, polished album. Mm-hmm. And it was when I was really getting into metal, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to make that transition over. And my friend lent me the Killers cassette. So I was like, all right, I'm going to listen to some new Iron Maiden. And I put it in, and I was like, when it started off with that great bass line, and then Paul Di'Anno doing those screams, I was like, wow, that's weird. That I don't really expect that out of Bruce Dickinson. And then when the singing started, I was like, whoa, who is this? What is this? I don't like this. So actually, the first time that I heard Paul Di'Anno, I didn't like him. And the first time I heard, my friend turned me on to Metallica. He had to pick the heaviest song off the record, which was Fight Fire with Fire. I was like, dude, turn that shit off. If he would have just turned me on to Fade to Black or For Whom the Bell Tolls, I would have been like, this is great. So dude, it's like people need something a little more mellow to pull them in, and like with everything, then eventually, and I think I do see this come with age. Eventually, when you get into something, you need something mellow to pull you in, and then your taste keeps getting heavier. And then as you get older, you start to mellow out, and you start to go down again. And like, what the fuck?
Yep, it's like a cycle.
It is, but here's the thing: mine hasn't changed. I mean, I'm not knocking anyone who likes death metal, but I don't want to hear it. But I do love to hear. Modern straight thrash like Exuma, I mean, and Creator, I think, has just been getting better, dude. A lot
of them German thrash metal bands are putting out amazing stuff right now. I think the whole new wave of thrash metal, like Suicidal Angels, Ultraviolence, there's some great fucking bands out there, man. Thrash or Die, love that stuff, man. So yeah, and then of course you got a lot of these older bands like your Death Angels and your Exoduses and Testaments that I think are putting out Overkill, who's consistently put out good stuff. I mean, to me, I love the whole thrash metal resurgence that's going on right now, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I hope in a year from now I will have a record out there and you could say that about mine.
That would be awesome. Looking forward to hearing it, brother.
Awesome. Killer. Look, I'm not going to say too much about Running Free. I like it. I think it's a good song. I like that little bass riff at the start. I think Clive Burr does a killer job on it. Look, short little song, straight to the point, catchy chorus. I like it. Oh, and the harmonies were actually done by Dennis Stratton. So I don't know if you knew that, but it was just an interesting little note that I found. But it's a good song. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Brother, I was thinking while you were talking, I was going to say I would give it a 7 horns up on that. So I'm right with you, brother.
Yep. Nice. I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, I would give it 7 devil horns. A good solid song. It's not. I do agree with you guys. It's not. I mean, the first 2 tracks are just fucking on a whole other level. Outstanding. But I like it. It's a good song. It's exactly what DJ Shant Star said. DJ Shant said, man, it's fucking. It was that. Let's do a song that's heavy but palpable. Let's hook them. And that's exactly what Running Free does, man. It's just got that. It's that song you can kind of just bang your head to, sit in the back seat, smoke your doob, and fucking rock out. And that's what's cool about it, man.
Absolutely.
So,
Killer.
Hey, a 7 is not a bad ranking for what I consider of my least favorite song off the album.
Yeah, no,
fucking
7's
right,
good,
man.
Respectable. Mike, Phantom of the Opera. Go for it.
Oh. Now, see, I got fond memories of this because just like DJ Shant said, man, Riggs just did new artwork for fucking albums. He would do them for like singles or just songs. I don't even know if Phantom of the Opera was ever released as a single, but I had a Phantom of the Opera poster, an Iron Maiden Phantom of the Opera poster as a kid, man.
Cool.
Where it had Eddie playing the organ and shit. It was so fucking badass, man. Another one of my favorite Derek Riggs pieces, of course, is Peace of Mind with him in the straitjacket, but I love The Trooper. That is such a badass fucking piece of art.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Oh, it's so fucking badass, dude. But anyway, I don't want to get off the beaten track. Again, I don't want to repeat myself, but killer galloping riffs, and I love how Diano sings along with each note and how it goes into almost fucking whole other song. And one of the things that I love most about Iron Maiden and thrash metal by extension is how you almost have songs within songs.
Yes.
And, which, even Black Sabbath would do. I mean, you listen to a song like Into the Void, it starts off that killer riff, but they don't just stay there. That song's got like 3 or 4 fucking killer riffs, man, and I love that,
Hey,
about metal. Yeah, go ahead, Shant.
I think the best riff on the first Sabbath album was the ending of Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah.
And that's talking about, that sounds like a totally different song.
I know. It really it is. It's like, yeah. And so good point there, brother. And I like how you can almost, like I said, have songs within songs. And this, to me, this particular track really showcases the versatility and the individual musicianship very effectively. Got a really big soft spot for this song because, like I said, my Phantom of the Opera poster it's probably the first Iron Maiden poster I ever bought, man. And so yeah, I love this track. Fucking 10 out of 10 devil horns for me, man. I think it rules.
Yes.
Nice one. Yeah. It's so progressive. You know, the beginning with it's like this flurry of, you know, there we go again. We have the neoclassical notes, and it just goes into this like tremolo pick face fucking melting riff. The fucking vocal harmonies are killer on it. Diano just does an amazing job. It's for a song that's over 7 minutes long. Back in 1980, it holds your attention. Because I'm sure a lot of people, when they first heard this, thought, you know, fuck, this is long. But it's one of those early Maiden songs that's long as fuck and holds your attention. I mean, they can't fucking do it nowadays, but fucking love Phantom of the Opera. 10 out of 10 from me as well. Shant?
You know, bro, that's the thing about going last is you're listening to somebody and you go, damn, he just said what I was going to say. And what you said, brother, was 7 minutes and 19 seconds holds my attention 100% all of the time. Incredible. And let me tell you, the next time you listen to that song, listen to it on earphones and listen to what a fantastically shantastic job that Clive Burr does on the drums. Oh man, he is incredible. I mean, not to say that there is any weak link in that song, because there's not. Every musician there is supreme. But when I look and listen to that song, I originally started out as a drummer, so I always listen to the drums too, very intently. And Clive Burr does such a fantastic, fluid drums to that. And then, as Mike pointed out before, in the middle, it breaks into a whole keep your distance, walk away. You know, it breaks into a whole, like, in other words, almost another song. So that's how it manages to keep your attention for 7 minutes and 19 seconds. And then it fluidly comes out of the breakdown back into the song. And this for sure is one of my favorite songs, without a doubt. I mean, there's no doubt. And I just wanted to mention something before, as you spoke about Mega Dave, and you said you liked his lyrics, but you thought on one album they were dumb.
Yeah.
There is no lyrics on any Iron Maiden album that's dumb.
Yeah.
These are extremely... Iron Maiden and Steve Harris in particular, is a very intelligent person. And one of the things that, you know, being that I dabble in a lot of instruments and stuff, you know, some people ask me periodically, well, what's harder? What do you think's the hardest? And I go, I'll tell you what's the hardest. Actually writing lyrics. And they go, why? Because nobody could teach you how to do it. I can sit there and teach you how to play the guitar. I can sit there and teach you how to play the drums. I can sit there and teach you how to play the bass. But nobody can teach you any magical key to writing lyrics. You just can't. You either got it or you don't, or you just work your ass off and you manage to get it. And every single Iron Maiden album, the lyrics are always intelligent. And that's going right from the very first album, even on to the albums I don't like, which is basically anything after Somewhere in Time. And so I don't want to take up too much time. If I do rattle on, let me know. But when we're talking about Phantom of the Opera, and there's no doubt that Iron Maiden is very classically influenced with their guitar playing. And when you listen to the opening riffs on something like Phantom of the Opera, you just hear it. And I will have to say that I would give this song a 10 out of 10 devil horns.
Nice. I love how all three of us are so far all on the same page. Many tracks are we in? We are, 4 tracks in, and we've had 3 10 out of 10s and a 7 out of 10. That's good fucking going.
Hell yeah. And I mean, I really do feel that Phantom of the Opera is probably the epic of the album, because it is like, almost 7.5 minutes long. Everything you guys have said, pretty much right there along with you.
Hey, Mac.
Yep.
In a few minutes, is there any way that we could just take a break or pause?
Hey, we can do it now. Here, I'll just hit pause. Alright, now we go into the instrumental, Transylvania. Shant, take it away.
I gotta tell you that as far as instrumentals go, I'm not the biggest fan of them. But this song in particular is a absolutely great instrumental. Iron Maiden, they do put out great instrumentals across the board, and it's just as Metallica does, but I don't like the Call of Cthulhu. Some other people love it, but anyway, I'm getting off the topic. I think that this is a great song. I mean, and like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of instrumentals, but for some reason that this one captures me, especially when it goes dan 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 dan. I mean, that's so memorable right there, Once again, of course, Clive Burr is doing a great 16s on the... he's like hopping on the ride. If you listen to what Clive Burr is doing on the ride, it's excellent. Very hard to keep something up like that consistently, almost like a machine.
Yeah.
And of course, it has its breakdown in the middle, which keeps your attention. I would have to say that this song here, I would give this... I like this better than Runnin' Free, and I would give this about 8.5 devil horns up.
Good, nice. Awesome. Mike?
Again, another glowing example of the stellar fucking musicianship that showcases just how Iron Maiden were truly a cut above the rest of the new wave of British heavy metal contemporaries. That's really all I have to say about it. I mean, it's just, fucking awesome. I give it, I'd say 8 or 9 devil horns, man. Killer instrumental. Killer.
Awesome. Killer. Great. I mean, it's perfectly set up to work without lyrics. Even without having a catchy chorus or a, cool hook or something. The music just finds its own means of keeping you interested. And, I mean, the guitar in it, the lead guitar is just fucking killer. Great riffage. I fucking love Transylvania. Now, like you guys, it's not gonna be another 10 devil horns from me, simply just because there's no lyrics. I don't think it deserves to be as high as, say, something like Runnin' Free or one of the other tracks, but it's still a killer fucking song. So yeah, I give it 8. I give it 8 out of 10. Fucking love Transylvania. Killer. So that takes us into what's next? Strange World. Is that what's next?
Well, let me just interject. What was actually added was Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Sanctuary was added into that. It wasn't on the original, but it was added in. Mm-hmm. So I think that Mike, am I correct in is that the track list you got?
For the 1980 North American version, yeah, it went from Transylvania to Strange World, then Sanctuary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over Strange World. You're correct. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Right.
Cool. So, we'll jump into Strange World, and sure, we'll do Sanctuary then afterwards. So, Strange World. Look, it's a beautiful ballad. It kind of shows the band a different light. There's loads of emotions and feelings in it. And Diano, he does this like soft croon, and it just fits the music. I think it's a great fucking song. 8 out of 10 for me. Not too much more I can say about it. What do you think, Shant?
Well, I got to tell you, when I listen to Strange World, I think it's like Iron Maiden's. It's like the psychedelic metal, and I'm glad they did it perfect, and I'm glad that this song, Strange World, is not the normal thing that Iron Maiden does or ever did, and it's once again it's very reminiscent of Remember Tomorrow, but Strange World doesn't go into heavier parts, and it is an absolutely beautiful ballad, and it almost sounds a little corny, or maybe a little weird, or when you call it a ballad, because when I think of the word ballad, it almost it sounds like is it going to be one of these hairband ballads or something, but this is a ballad that's it's beautiful. It's just a stellar ballad along the lines of things like I said before, like The Price, like A Fade to Black, except for it doesn't go into any heavy parts. And when you listen to the effects that they have on their guitar, it's kind of like a phaser shifting sound, a phaser guitar pedal. And I was listening to it repeatedly, and one thing that stands out once again is just Paul Di'Anno's vocal ability, and I don't want to sound or keep harping on this, but I love Bruce Dickinson, so I got to get that out of the way. But it always seems like it's a test or a battle between the two, or people always saying Bruce Dickinson's so much better. And when I listen to a song like Strange World, I go, look, there's the proof. The man sings great. And it's a song that you could just kick back, and you could sit there and you could draw, you could make love to your lady, you could think about life. I mean, it's just so many things like that. That song can be there for you. It can be there for you at the best of times or at the worst of times. God forbid, you had someone pass away in your family. You could put that song on, and it's there for you. You could be at a party and put that song on. It's there for you. It's just there for you, in my opinion. I just love the song, and I'll have to give that a 10 devil horns.
That's actually a great fucking review of that song, Shant.
I know
the way you described it. I mean, fair play to you, man. That's fucking excellent. Yeah, good job.
I don't know how I got to follow that, man.
Hey, he sure shit all over my review. Yeah, it's good. I like it.
All right, man. I think this song really showcases Di'Anno's voice. Like, maybe Dickinson might be more operatic, but to me, Di'Anno is definitely more melodic, and I love melodic vocals. I just think this song is just a beautiful melodic masterpiece, man. It's just 10 out of 10. I mean, great fucking song. I love this song. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I like Remember Tomorrow better, but fuck, man. And like you said, this is actually more mellow than even Remember Tomorrow. But I just think it's one of those songs, again, where when somebody says, Paul Di'Anno, I'm like, motherfucker, listen to this shit. And tell me the guy couldn't sing.
Yeah. No, he's very versatile singer. He's a great fucking singer. Cool. That's Strange World. So we're going to do Sanctuary next, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Who wants to take Sanctuary? You go for it, Chad.
Go for it, dude.
Of me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Sanctuary. Look, in my opinion, Sanctuary, it was a track that I don't know if they intentionally did it. It's more of a commercial, let's say. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's not. It's not bad when you have something that's let's say a bit more mainstream.
It was smart having it as a single.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was definitely smart. I mean, music isn't just music; it's also business. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the icing on the cake with music is if you do what you do and you make money off of it. It's like any other form of something you love. If you're a painter, it's great that you're a painter. The icing on the cake is if you get paid for it, beautiful. So music is also a business. And I have to say that this one here is one of my I would put it in the same realm of Runnin' Free. Not a bad song by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll listen to it periodically and go, you know what, it's an okay song, but it's not one of the home runs off the album. And with that, I believe I gave Runnin' Free 7.5 devil horns. I'm going to have to go with the same on Sanctuary, which, by the way, was not on the original, and it was added in various states of reproduction, depending on what country it was released, which would go into a lot of time to explain. It just kept getting added on as it eventually got released over in Germany, South America, etc. Was not on the original album.
Yeah. Cool. Mike, what do you think?
I pretty much echo everything Shant just said. I mean, there's really not a whole lot more I can add to it. I like it. Good song. I don't know. I don't think it fits on the album, and obviously it doesn't because it wasn't recorded for the album. So, I prefer the British version. But that's just me. But I do like it. It's a good song.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. I like it. It's catchy, and as we touched on there during Shant's review, it was smart to release it as a single. Was it the second single, I think?
Yes.
Yeah. Simple guitar riffs, they're not really that impressive, but Steve is pretty fucking relentless on that bass, and it has a great finish to it. Look, good song, I like it. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah.
That's about
there we
right.
go.
Yeah.
Cool. More than that. Yeah.
So, Charlotte the Harlot. Who's going to go with this? Mike.
Charlotte the Harlot. This is the one song that Dave Murray solely contributed to. Wrote it all by his lonesome. Cool track, very funny lyrics, and I dig it, man. I love how the song slows way down, and then it goes into there was a time when you left me standing there. All I gotta say is poor Dave must have fell for the wrong girl. And I love the guitar soloing on this particular track. Very cool track. I'd give it 7.5, 8 out of 10 devil horns. Good track. Good solid track. Not one of the best, but there ain't a bad song on this record as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
No.
If there is filler, that would maybe be it, and it would be killer filler. So there you go.
I like that, killer filler.
I didn't come up with that term. That's a term that Ian Wadley from the Rock and Metal Combat podcast came up with. But yeah, I loved it. First time I heard it, I'm like, killer filler. I'm like, yeah, like good. That.
And don't forget, Sum 41 had an album called All Killer, No Filler.
Just since you brought that up, actually, that's funny because I am a fan of those guys, and I'm not afraid to say it. I think everyone thinks that they want to say that they listen to everything that's heavy and they don't listen to anything that's mellow or whatever. And by the way, you know what? Sum 41 are hugely influenced by
I was just going to say that, actually. I can't remember the guitar player's name. But
Right.
he always used to wear Iron Maiden shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You can hear it in the songs too.
yeah, there's one song that they did that's a pretty heavy song. Gee, I can't believe that we're going on a little excursion on Sum 41.
Yeah.
If you're familiar, look, if you think that Sum 41 can't rock, you need to listen to the song "Still Waiting" by Sum 41, and I'll tell you that is actually along the lines of like Master of Puppets.
Nice. I can't think of. I probably know it because I remember buying that album. Well, the All Killer No Filler album when it came out, and I remember they had that. Was it like? I can't remember if it was a full song or was it an outro to a song. It was called something like "Pain for Pleasure," and it had a real 80s metal Maiden kind of vibe to it. But it was pretty cool, pretty heavy as well.
You know, dude, like, and I'm if other people listen to, they're going to listen to the podcast and they're going to come away with with things, and we all have our own opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to make something kind of clear that I'm not a big fan of death metal whatsoever. Okay, and with that said, is I don't think and I don't feel in any way, shape, or form that I have to not say to people, like, not admit that I like Blink 182 or not admit I like The Offspring or not admit I like Sum 41, because I do. I mean, and to be honest with you guys, I really don't have control over what I like. I just like it.
Alright, Shant, what do you think of Charlotte the Harlot?
Well, I think that this isn't one of the better of the songs on the album, but it is still a great song. I think that, in my opinion, what I like best about the song is Paul Di'Anno's voice, Paul Di'Anno's pretty aggressive vocals on it, and then, as Mike mentioned on the breakdown, he goes into some beautiful singing, which really is such a contrast from... The song is actually pretty heavy, and then when it goes into that breakdown, it just has a beautiful quality about it, but without losing any of its masculinity, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think that, like I said, that Paul really shines on it. I'm sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought because I'm busy. I'm thinking about it. Maybe I'm overthinking it too much. I think it is a solid track. Put it that way. It is definitely a solid track, as every song is, but some are a little bit better than the others. So I would say that, in my opinion, I will give Charlotte the Harlot 8 devil horns. And just a quick side note, that Charlotte the Harlot is a prequel to 22 Acacia Avenue and a few other songs that maybe Matt could elaborate on.
Yep. I like the song. It doesn't really do that much for me. It's not a bad song by any means. I mean, come on, there is no bad songs on this album. Isn't it just Dave Murray alone that wrote this? I think it was.
Yes.
But it kind of goes, from that. I'm going to say it again, Shant, and you probably disagree with me, but punk. I definitely get a punky vibe off a couple of tracks on this album, and this is one of them. And then it kind of goes from that punky vibe / attitude to like the soft ballad. And then there's just this fucking guitar wizardry from Dennis and Dave, which is really fucking cool. But it's a good song. I give it another 7 out of 10. Yeah. So takes us into
Hey,
the fucking...
Mac.
Yeah?
I was going to say, don't let Steve Harris hear you say that, though.
Why?
About the whole punk influence.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
let Steve Harris, 'cause he'll fucking flip out on you, dude.
Yeah, I'll
He
punch that
hates
fucker.
punk rock. But I will say this. I think Iron Maiden and really the whole new wave of British heavy metal was a direct response to the punk rock movement. I think it was metal going, oh, okay. And, you know, it was their answer to that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't, like I said, maybe the way Di'Anno dressed or carried himself, maybe the attitude was a bit punky. Don't really hear a whole lot of punk in their music. Now, thrash metal, on the other hand, that's a whole other discussion, because to me, that's what thrash metal was. It took what, you know, guys like Maiden and Priest and Sabbath were doing, and then took, you know, Discharge and Exploited and fucking, you know, Sex Pistols, and even the Ramones to a certain extent, and threw them together, and that's how you got thrash metal. That's just my particular.
I don't know. I've just always heard a punky vibe on, not so much Killers, but on this album. Maybe it's just Di'Anno's, not his voice all the time, but you know, like attitude. When he's singing, yeah.
Well, Paul Di'Anno, when Paul Di'Anno gets aggressive, he's got balls. Yeah. No disrespect to Rob Halford, but he just doesn't. He never ever sings like Paul Di'Anno does on Killers. He never has that raspiness to his voice, and you know, it seemed like that the metal bands went to really polish themselves up, and you know, because you have a singer like a Rob Halford who's really polished, and Paul Di'Anno can be polished, but he also can be raspy and rugged. And that goes back to the what makes punk mostly is the attitude, the delivery of the vocals, and that. And I will say this, that I see a much bigger connection on these first two Iron Maiden albums, especially Killers, to thrash music as opposed to punk music. I honestly, I don't see it. And I'm a big fan of punk music, especially hardcore punk music. And I see a total connection to the thrash. I think that they were thrash before thrash came out. They were thrash before Metallica wrote the blueprint with Kill 'Em All. That's just what I feel, and that's what I think.
Cool. Yep, cool. Right, last song of the album, and I'm gonna fucking take this one. I'm gonna kick us off with this. The title track, Iron Maiden. I fucking love this song. I think it's simple, but it is catchy as fuck. I love the on the intro, the kind of Thin Lizzy-esque guitars between Dave and Dennis. I love Di'Anno's for me vocally. This is his performance on the album. Maybe, you know, apart from some of the ballads where he sings really well, but for an up-tempo song, I think his voice is just fucking so gruff and killer. And this is one of my favourite Maiden songs of all time. You know, yeah, it's a staple in the set, and it's probably a bit overplayed, but I just fucking love it. It's just so catchy. Fucking love Iron Maiden. Who wants to go next?
Well, I guess since Mike didn't jump in there, I will.
You are the guest of honor, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. And you know what, guys?
Oh, sorry, I need to add, I'm giving this 10 out of 10 as well.
I just want to say thanks for inviting me on this show, you know, for this album. And I know Mike invited me on for this album because he knows what a huge fan I am.
Hey, glad to have you.
Thank you. With that said, I mean, if you wanted to, album closes are extremely important, and this was an absolute home run. If you want to close out an album strong, this was the song to do it. And you know, as you alluded to, Mac, yes, that guitar, when it starts all by itself, that high-pitched guitar is beautiful, and in fact, it is very reminiscent to Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera starts off with a high-pitched guitar all by itself. That's Maiden's signature style. That high-pitched guitar, and then followed up with the next guitarist coming in, playing in a different key, which is beautiful. That's so Maiden. And I will say that this is a perfect example of me talking about thrash music, because it goes bapple, 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 bapple.
Yeah.
In the song, it brings that fast beat that thrash music is so remembered for or known for. Like I said, I think these guys were thrash before we knew what thrash was. It's just that Metallica came out with a badass album that was heavier, and which everybody knows that Metallica are gigantic fans of Iron Maiden. So I will say that this, without a doubt, is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Nice.
And it's everything you said, Mac. I believe it, except tenfold.
Yeah.
Paul Di'Anno is great. The drums are great. I think that's probably the first time that those double time drums were introduced to music that I know of. I do not know of a song that had fast drums like that in 1980. So one of my favorite songs, completely blisteringly great album closer, and without a shadow of a doubt, I give it a 10 out of 10 Devil Horns.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great fucking song. Mike, you can close out the review.
Fuck yeah, man. I'm just going to echo what you guys said. I mean, to me, a closing track is very important, and a lot of your great albums have what I call the closing track. In porn terms, it'd be the money shot.
There you go.
You have like Black Sabbath's Master Reality. They end with fucking Into the Void. I mean, come on. Ozzy Osbourne, Diary of a Madman, Metallica,
Damage Incorporated.
Damage Incorporated, right? Just fucking epic, fucking bad, and this is no exception. I mean, just again, it's just it is what made Maiden what they are. I mean, it's just a killer. Everybody on the track shines. It's just an amazing fucking track. There's really not more I can add to what you guys have already said. I mean, it's just starts off that opening riff that, of course, becomes a galloping riff, which of course is just an Iron Maiden staple by this point. Just an incredible closing track, fucking phenomenal. 10 out of 10 fucking Devil Horns. Great record, man. Great debut album.
Yeah.
I definitely think if you were gonna have a list of great debut albums, this is definitely on the list. Just no fucking contest, man.
Yeah.
There's some bands that come up with debut albums that are so great that they kind of peak with that, and they never really do anything that matches it. Now, I don't really feel that way with Maiden, because I think no matter which, and I'm including the Di'Anno era and the Dickinson era. I think the first 6-7 albums are just amazing,
Yep.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, man. I mean, and for that alone, I will always love them. I mean, I long for the days when Iron Maiden could kick the fucking shit out of me in a, 5-minute song or 4-minute song or well, hell, even this particular track, it's what, let's see here.
3 minutes and 50
3
seconds.
3 minutes and 43 seconds, man. It just kicks the fucking dog shit out of me. I mean, I long for that. And I don't want to sound like I'm, because some people, not everybody's this way, but you have these, and every band has them. They got a certain segment of fans that I call tards. I'm just going to come out right there and call them that. Like, no matter what they do, it's amazing. They're sheep. It's like, they just fucking whatever the band does, they can do no wrong. Well, I'm not that way with any band or any artist. I mean, as much as I love Iron Maiden, I'm not going to sit here and say Book of Souls is a masterpiece. I mean, Look, if you out there, people, listeners that like it and love it, go for it. But I remember when that album first came out, and somebody told me about it. Oh, it's the best thing they've ever done. I remember thinking at the time, and it was a young guy that told me this, but I thought, kid, that's a bold fucking statement. Like, you know. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm talking down to anybody, because I'm not, dude. Hell, Mac, you're about the same age as my nephew Kane. You know, so you know, I don't talk down to any of the younger metal fans. Like I've went off on these tangents before that I hate it when I hear older metal fans bag on some kid just because they like Five Finger Death Punch or Avenged Sevenfold. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's their gateway band. Talk to them in about 5 years, and they'll probably be listening to a lot more extreme and heavier stuff. You know, and maybe even hopefully we'll go back and explore the history of metal and discover bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Black Sabbath.
Well, let me just jump in for 1 second, because I want to just have to steal a little bit of credit. What you were talking about before was I actually envy Kane, because Kane was only familiar with the Bruce Dickinson era of Iron Maiden, and I said, dude, you have to do yourself the greatest favor in the world. Go back and listen to the first 2 Iron Maiden albums. And which he did, and then now he really digs them. And he absolutely loves Diano, and he's even like, man, Uncle Mike, I think they would have been just as big with Paul if Paul had stayed in the band. And you know, who knows? Maybe he's right. You know, maybe he's right. I mean, you know, he's a big Iron Maiden fan. Absolutely loves them. I mean, obviously, with him being into power metal anyway, and I think Maiden was kind of an influence on that as well. You know, like as big an influence as they were on thrash, I think they were a pretty big influence on power metal too. Whether you like power metal or not, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are other bands. I mean, Manowar instantly comes to mind when I think of Grim Reaper's another band I think that was a huge influence on power metal. So I'm not discrediting Maiden, but I do think that Maiden, you know, I mean, come on, man, it's Iron fucking Maiden. I mean, they're one of the greatest metal bands to ever put on a fucking guitar strap or fucking pick up drumsticks, you know, I mean, come on, you know, you know, they were a big part of my formative years, and he wasn't really familiar with the Diano era, so I'm glad you said something like, dude, check it out, man, because and I think maybe part of that is he was just such a fan of Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind, you know. He never really went back for whatever reason, and then finally when you said something to him, he asked me about it. I'm like, well, dude, I've got him right here on the hard drive, man, because, you know, check it out. And he did, and he absolutely just loved it.
Nice.
Absolutely just loved it, you know.
Awesome. Well,
so, anyway, man, I guess that wraps it up for me. I think this was an amazing record. And, Shant, I want to thank you for coming on. I knew you were the perfect guy to do this review. And, yeah, man. Anything else, Mac?
No, just another very, very short recap. Released 14th of April 1980 on EMI, and it peaked at number 4 in the UK album charts. Great fucking album by a killer fucking band. Great suggestion, Mike and Shant. As Mike said, thanks so much for coming on, and you're welcome back anytime. So it was a lot of fucking fun.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I just wanted to say, you know, end out here that that I honestly, and not overstating this in any way, shape, or form, that I truly think that this Iron Maiden debut album is one of the all-time best debut albums from any band. It is an incredibly profound album, and I say that with all my heart and soul, and I think that the world would be an incredibly different place if there was no Iron Maiden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. I
echo those statements, Shant. Thanks for coming on, DJ Shant Star. Check out his show, Audio Aggression, from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right, Shant?
Yes. Thank you for plugging
on
me into my show.
thatmetalstation.com. Yeah, check him out. Check all our DJs out, man.
Absolutely, yeah. You can check out the roster on thatmetalstation.com. You'll see the schedule. Check them all out. I'm back. Yeah, I came back last Wednesday. Had a great fucking show. So back on again this week. Mike, you're on as normal this week, are you?
Yep, Fridays from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1 a.m., man. Check us out. And like I said, we've got some DJs that are moving around. We've got some changes to the schedule. So make sure you visit the site and check them all out, because I can't really go into it right now because I can't honestly remember. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I know Shant changed his time. There's a bunch of them that have changed their time. So anyway, man, come to the website. Check us out, man. There's a video review that Dr. Fuck did for the debut album for Warrior, posted on our site. Check us out, man. Thatmetalstation.com.
Yep.
Stay metal, motherfuckers.
Awesome. And also, I'm not going to read them out. I think I'll keep it to next week's episode. But we got a few more reviews, Mike. Some pretty fucking cool ones on Facebook. So I'm going to hold them off to next week, and maybe we'll do it at the start of next week's show. But I just want to say, keep the reviews coming in on Facebook, but also iTunes. Very important. Keep them coming in rather. Any other app you listen to us on, Podbean, Spreaker, all the reviews are appreciated. And what I'm going to do is I announced this on Facebook a couple of weeks back, but I kind of forgot about it since. But every review that we get, I'm going to enter the person's name into a draw, and I'm going to pick a winner, and the winner can get a brand new Mind Over Metal t-shirt. So little incentive for you. Now, we're not looking for 5-star reviews. If you think we deserve one, fucking by all means give it to us. But whatever you think we deserve, give it to us, and we'll fucking read it out. And you could win some swag, some nice t-shirts. So yeah, that's it for this week. Keep checking us out. mindovermetalpodcast.com, Spreaker, iTunes, everywhere. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/mindovermetalpodcast, and find us on Twitter. Oh, and I also hoard us out to Instagram, because I am a whore, DJ Metal Mike, as you know. And anywhere
you
I
slut.
I am a slut, exactly, Shant. Anywhere I can put us, we're there. But we're also on Instagram. Check us out there too. But until next week, from myself, Mac, our guest Shant, and my co-host DJ Metal Mike, it's good night.